You have a change of heart, wanna make a brand new start. You've been living on the edge with forever as a pledge. No more giving it up, turning me loose, setting us free. Baby, keeping it real, cause we got what takes for sure. There's no turning back anymore. Can you see it's all a game? Life goes on all the same. If at first you don't succeed, all you've got is all you need. If you believe, then stake your claim.
Hello, 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 Rise and Thrivers. Welcome to Monday night. It is April 27th and it is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And welcome to Rise and Thrive Together. If you are new to the community or not, we are Rise and Thrive Together. And we're a vibrant community committed to educating and empowering and equipping you to get the results that you want through real talk by taking real actions. So here we are in our fourth week of April. Next week is May. We are 4 months into 2026. And I have missed my beautiful friend over here and my beautiful co-host, Raquel. Nice to see you, sis.
How are you?
Good. We are at the end of April, girl. At the end of April. I don't know about you, but April flew for me.
I don't know if it really flew for me. I don't know what it was. It was just April with stuff to do, like March, and it's
Yeah.
just it's good stuff.
Yeah, me too. For me, I think the more stuff that has been really good, and for me, 2026 has been this incredible kind of culmination of everything we've been talking about for the past. Can you believe 3 years next month? 3 years
I
next month,
know.
and I think it's always a context. That's what we're talking about. It's always a context. So I've had times where oh my god, the whole year flew. And this year is going very fast for me, but very intentionally with some really great projects and things that are happening. And it's going fast because it's just full, and full of actions and people and stuff, but very fulfilling versus where it flew because I was super busy. And then when you take a breath, you're like, what just happened? So at least I know what's going on, and I'm getting very fulfilled in those things. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, here we are, man. We're in our beautiful, beautiful topic. Just to remind everybody right here, going to put on this beautiful topic of April, the art of asking, ask bigger and live fuller. And Raquel had this beautiful, she does this beautiful, Canva. And, I'd asked her about the puzzle pieces because I thought it kind of went with when you're asking, it's like a puzzle piece. But she reminded me, and we just want to take a moment to let everybody know that, it's Autism Awareness Month. And just beautiful, again, Canva piece created by Raquel. We just want to take a moment for everybody to let you know that that's Autism Awareness Month this month. And we love to embrace our differences. So thanks, Rock, for making such a beautiful, beautiful flyer and a big reminder for all of us.
Hmm. Absolutely. So I'm excited to wrap up the art of asking, only because I think we've got it. And if you don't understand that there is an art, a technique to asking, rewatch this whole month and our episode, because it is really and truly so important. So over the last couple of weeks, either I've been asked or I had to ask something, and it's just been incredible. It's teaching me how to
Mm,
ask, and the how depends on whom you are speaking with.
yes.
It really does matter. And one of the things that I've always known but didn't always practice is listening. There's an art to listening, and listening to how the person is speaking, and then I adopt that same manner of speaking and words that they use. Because when I use those same words, what gets released in that person, and I feel like I've said this before, is oxytocin, which is a
Mhm.
bonding hormone. It's the hormone that nursing mothers release when they breastfeed their kids. People feel that connection when you speak the language they speak. And it doesn't necessarily mean a foreign language unless you know that foreign language, but it's the word. So if the person speaks in color and I see everything for them is seeing, they're very visual. So when you're asking a question, make sure you ask it in a way that's visual that they can see.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that we
I
get a
love
hold of
that.
that.
This is so great because what you just had me become aware of, and everybody, if you're hearing something that resonates or you have a question to ask, please, feel free because that's one of the things that we haven't discussed. So let's do that, right? Let's talk about that. We don't ever really have a conversation with, like, hi, how do you like to, you know, how do you listen and how do you like to be like talked to? Now, there are people in my life and someone very closely that really does that. And I love for you to remind me of that because people will say, and as a professor, right? And myself as when I did, facilitate workshops, you want to ask the person if you're wherever you're having that workshop for you, you're in the classroom, asking your students what works for you, right? Are you more visual? Are you more of an active listener? And you want to make sure that you can read that audience that way. And I think that was really great that you said that because I'm going to move that forward for the rest of starting tomorrow morning. Um, Noticing the people who I speak to who are more maybe visual people than just words coming out of your mouth. And it's perfect because the topic this tonight is episode 156 from asking and listening and living. Because now we're like, you said, here we are. We're gonna ask so we can live this fuller, bigger life, and to embody this living, this fuller life is being very clear about the asks and the listening of it. So I really, really love that. And Lori's on tonight. And why I'm bringing up Lori, because Lori's sitting there saying there's a huge difference between asking and demanding and then asking respectfully. I've been in many situations that when I asked a question, it came across different command, compared to when it occurred as a demand. Like I demanded an answer to my questions. She's like, oh, there's a big difference. And she's starting to notice that for herself, that she thought she was asking questions, but she was more demanding an answer to her question than really asking that question.
Now,
um
can I throw in a challenge there?
yeah, please, girl, go.
Because how do we not know when we're demanding something from someone?
Mm,
And the reason why I ask that is because I know when I'm demanding, just me,
yeah.
I know when I'm demanding. There's a certain tone to my voice, there's a certain way I'll tilt my head, there's certain antics that I do. And I know I'm demanding it and I'm aware, but I think it's great that you are now recognizing it, Lori. And it's great to recognize, but the next step is what's important as well. And that is to be totally aware and start asking and knowing when to demand. There are times you do have to demand,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are times where you need to ask. So now it's time to, I recognize it, put it into practice.
Yep.
And the word that we seem to be throwing around here a lot is intentional.
Yeah.
So be intentional about it. But I love what you said, but I've had to become very self aware within the circles that I move in about my tone.
Yep.
So
And I love that because not and Lori's adding more because she's loving this. She's just like jumping right in. She's like, not everyone will tell you how you sound.
Don't rely on people to tell you. You can hear how you sound. I can tell when I'm saying something with a tone and an attitude, and sometimes it is very intentional.
Yep.
I want it to be known, and my face gets matches my voice, my tone, my everything. And then there are times where it's not necessary, but maybe something's going on with us, and whatever's going on with us personally, it comes across
Yeah.
because we haven't learned how to do that compartmentalization. That's a big word. I had to slow it down.
Yeah, that's great because she's sitting there saying that, that this is such a great tool for her, right? To achieve and affecting whatever goal or outcome she's looking for from that ask. And she loved to say to whom you are approaching.
Mhm.
And there's something you said, sis, which was really great. And thank you, Lori, for like jumping right in there. I'm sorry, that was Ellen. Giving props to Ellen. Ellen, I gave it to Lori. Thank you, Ellen, for saying that. That's a tool to be achieving your goal. And we shouldn't, Ellen, assume that we can't be read, right? Because people can, she's saying, pick up on it. There were two things that came up, which is this is great. I love Ellen and Lori just like jumping right in. Because there was something you said that really hit me when you were like speaking to like Lori's conversation about no, the other people, it's not, like the other people might not say it to you. It's really not about the other people. If you're the person who is asking and speaking, you've got to learn about your own tonality, like you're saying. Really understand that. And then, sure, the closer that we're talking about the circles of people, and if it's important about, Lori's learning to go and take on a new job. And so I was one of her, test people today. And so she had her other trainer be there. And that's where you're comfortable, right? Where you're able to like ask and somebody so asked, I kind of jumped in and was able to share different tones, different ways, speaking too fast, slowing things down. Because you get lost when the person said to me, so do you have any questions? And I was so lost. I thought I spoke fast from a New Yorker. This person was like twice as fast. So I couldn't even, when she asked me that question, I couldn't even answer the question because there was so much information thrown out so quickly. So
Who was
lots
throwing
of
out the
people.
information? I'm confused.
Hmm?
Who was throwing out the information?
I was a person. The person was doing a training workshop for Lori, so she was her main trainer, and she was just. I was one of the clients, and so when the trainer was doing all this information and then asked me, "Do I have any questions?" I was like, I couldn't even. There is her ask, "Do you have any questions?" I couldn't even answer if there was the person didn't even realize how quickly they were speaking and throwing so much information.
Okay.
You know,
I'm
so
glad you explained that. Thank you.
you're up. See, perfect. She
Because
asked a
what
question.
that's listen, when I don't understand, I'm gonna tell you I don't understand. But
Yeah.
what that is, that kind of questioning is called a compound question. When people are just throwing out a bunch of different questions at you in one sitting, they think it's one question, but there are tons of question marks in there, and they're asking like 4 or 5 questions at once. And what happens with that is the person that you're asking this question to, they're going to select the one that they want to answer. So you're not getting an answer to all of your questions. They're just going to select one of those questions and ask and answer that question. So we need to kind of stay away from compound questioning and give folks one question, because I know I do that sometimes, compound questioning, and then I feel like I've got to repeat the question and change up how I'm saying it, not because of the tone but how I'm presenting it to the person I'm communicating to. So we've got to keep the practice of getting away from compound questioning, because then we may not get an answer to the question we really want an answer to. They're going to choose what fits them best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and compound questioning or too much information. So there was like all of this information being thrown at me, and then said, "So do you have any questions about it?" And it was like, so again, what you were saying. ask a specific question, but the information, you can give a little bit of information at a time. We've had many guests, right, share financial planning or share the way that they coach. It's a little information at a time. Let the person digest it, take it in. And you can say, I know I just shared a lot of stuff, with you. Um, is there anything that you remember, something you want to go back on? And I loved what you said also about visuals, because what helped me was she had visuals.
Mm.
So if I'm just listening, I lost everything, because remember, we taken so much information anyway all day. So now I'm throwing that on top of it. But at least I was able to go back to the visual and remember something from the visual. Thanks, Susan, for joining in. She's like, I'm glad I made it. This sounds like an interesting conversation. Welcome, Susan. Feel free to check out what we were talking about. But yes, so there's so much inside of this big ask, from, like Raquel was saying, from your tone to the information that you need, bits and pieces at a time. Know your audience, know the person that you're speaking to. Not everybody is meant for the ask that you're asking for. Not everybody is meant for that ask
Mhm.
that you're meant for. If you need clarification about that, I want you to sit with that and think about that. Are you asking people in your circle, are those really the people that are really meant for that particular ask? I had volunteers I needed. I knew who specifically to ask out of like millions of people, right? I just knew. And sometimes they can't make it, but there's just a whole other group of people that I'm clear they're not the people. And maybe they might be, but I've known them well enough, like Raquel's saying, your circles well enough after a certain amount of time that just it's not worth the time and energy, not for them or for me. I want to get intentional and move forward. So I love it. I love it. This is so much fun. Love, 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 love this.
So, what I've also learned is the difference between what's a biased question and an unbiased question.
Mm.
Right. And with an unbiased question, you want a pure response to get an understanding of how that person thinks. So it's unbiased, no commitment. It's not a leading question, none of that. You really want to get an understanding of how this person thinks and feels. So you'll ask something like, how was your day? Let's go with a simple question. That's unbiased. Instead of saying, oh, you look like you had a rough day. Did you have a rough day? That's very biased. First of
Yes.
all, it's rude and disrespectful because I don't know what you're saying about how I look. However, that's very biased. And an example of a biased question is, have you done all of your homework? How many parents out there, and we've got a couple, if you have kids that are school age, because if they're in college and you're asking them, have you done your homework? It's like, they're going to tell you what homework. We didn't get homework. We don't get homework every day. And sometimes that's true, right? But how many of you asked that question? Have you done all of your homework? That's a biased question. So we need to be mindful and switch it up, right? Because you're going to get a biased answer. We could have done that better. How much of your homework have you done?
Mm-hmm.
Is an unbiased question, because then they have to give you a real response. When you ask, have you done all of your homework? That's kind of a closed-ended question too, where it's answered with a yes or no.
Yep.
Not like I'm telling you guys anything you don't know. And if I am telling you something new, great. But some of us need refreshers in how we're asking people questions.
Yeah.
We ask with the intent, with the hope that the person understands what we really mean. And that's a part of the clarity that we talked about when I was here last.
I mean, that's such a great, that's really great about the bias and unbiased. So again, not that I don't know or anybody out there, it's just a great for me reminder and taking a moment to really reflect and say, when I'm about to speak to whoever and I have a specific ask, do I know that person well? So we're going back to who am I speaking to? You know, um, Maybe I don't know this person well. So it's a great way to start those unbiased questions so that we can learn about each other in a nice, easy way, and then work our way through. And even people I know, like right away. It is a great way to, do that. I've done that to Lexi almost every day. So like right away, she's like, "What parent?" I'm like, in the car, like almost every day. So, did you finish your homework? And she'll say yes. And then you'll get home and you'll go through stuff. And you're like, no, you didn't. Because I'm not going to speak for all children, but most of them are like, yeah, yeah, they don't want to look at you now. And then, she's like, no, but. And then the next thing you know, it's this wasted energy and some type of little bickering when really the question should be like, hey, did you get homework today? Great. Yes. Did you complete any of it? And how much, or even eat straight? How much did you complete?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, I did quarter, half, all of it. All right, great. I'm going to, check.
None.
Right. Or none. But the fact is that the good part is, we check it and she knows that. Right. So there's the other piece of that. Right. I don't go by just, she says none or like anything. But it is funny. It is.
Right.
The older you get and the busier you get and things, and you want, you're going to give people room to fly. Listen, let's go to like adulthood when we're at our jobs. You know what I mean? Like if you guys are working and you've got a boss who's like, whatever, and your boss is like, hey, I know for myself, straight up, real talk. Did you get that complete? Yup. And then you're like, see you later. And then you get back to your desk and you're like, because she's like, I need it by 4. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. Because you're in the office and you're like, whatever. And then all of a sudden you go back. You're like, all right, great. And then you're like, no lunch. Because still like I'm 3, right? Still like I'm in 3rd grade. Come on. How many, don't make me feel like I'm by myself here. But, like how many times have you done that? Now there's so many reasons behind all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to own that one. But back in the day when I was not so like, and then like mad typing it out, like, oh, God, can't believe it. She has to have me having it in at 4 o'clock. Meanwhile, like you knew like for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And what was I doing for 3 weeks? So
Wow.
super
That was
funny.
me when I was in grad school.
Yeah,
When I was working on my doctoral degree. I knew an assignment was due, let's say, on Friday night, and I'm working on it Friday morning, like all day Friday. I had no life because I chose to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Just one of those things. It was funny though. That was me many, many nights doing that. It's hilarious. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's the real trouble.
What?
Hold on for a second. Susan threw this in real quick. She was saying, as she was listening to us, she was saying, I was just thinking, like, just ask the question and stop. And don't keep on going or say something like in other words. Like we've shared that in previous weeks, Susan. So that was really great.
So, Susan, do you mean when you say ask the question and stop, do you mean don't explain the question that you just asked? Because some people do that. And I don't know if it's something on my face that says, hey, I don't understand. Like this week I went to a doctor and he was saying whatever. And then he looked at me and said, do you have any questions? And in my head, now I kept it to myself. Now, before I would have said exactly what was going in my head. In my head, I was saying, well, you didn't really say anything that warrants a question. So, no, I don't have any. And I just gave him the no, I don't have any questions. And then he looked a little kerfuffled that I didn't have any questions. And I'm like, well, did he say something? Now I'm talking to myself. I'm like, self, did he say something that warrants a question? He said nothing. He made a statement. Okay. And I guess okay wasn't sufficient for him. So he was like a little perplexed that she didn't have any. Whatever. I don't have any questions.
Susan answered yes, exactly to what she was saying. Like, just ask the question and stop.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
And see what happens from there. Ellen's writing back. And if we want a desired answer, not to make our questions response defensive, it might bring us what we need. If we want desired answers, not to make our questions response defensive, might not bring us what we need.
I need more on
Me
that.
too.
I'm a
So
little
here's the
confused.
perfect. Yep. So perfect. Thank you, Ellen.
And I want to hear more about what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, so we're both a little perplexed, like with your response. So please clarify. And I know it's hard because you're not here.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and there'll be lots of fun stuff that we'll share with you next week. But yeah, please clarify for that. Lori's totally digging what you're saying because she says most of the time our face will give away what we really want to say or ask. Absolutely. Poker face is not me. It's the body language face. I just don't ask me to ever play in poker or anything. Though I did good in Monopoly the other day for like a short amount of time because I was like, and then all of a sudden it was just so obvious. I was upset that I was losing all my condos and houses. Um, that's so funny.
But you're right. It's hard to keep. I never had a poker face. I
Yeah,
was really trying, and then I looked like I had a stomach ache when I was trying to have like this poker face. I was like, oh, it's so uncomfortable.
it's so great. I think it's the same
Oh my
thing.
gosh, I'm entertaining myself here.
I know,
It's just hilarious to
fun
me.
show. It's fun. Ellen is clarifying again, so we're going to go back to Ellen's original when she says,
Okay.
if we want desired answers, not to make our questions response defensive, our questions response defensive. That's where I'm a little confused. Might not bring us what we need. She meant to say, I mean, not to put a person like feel like they're up against the wall. Like our questions, like kind of throw at them, like they're so defensive that you
Okay, got you,
put
got you,
that
got
person
you.
against the wall. It's
But you
hard
know
when
what? Is there ever a time though, Ellen, where you should be asking a defensive question?
ooh,
I'm just curious. Is there, and if so, in what context? Because I think attorneys do it all the time.
that's what I was saying. First thing I said was, I think they're trained that way, right? That's what they're trained for. And
Right.
Ellen's smiling. She's had a big smiley, like big hearts. But very true. I think the way you're trained, and even as a social worker, on again looking at the situation,
Mhm.
looking at who I was with, there were times my questions were very defensive because I was defending the person um, who I was, you know, speaking to someone who I really felt like, you were not listening. You're just not even allowing my opportunity to speak on
Mhm.
behalf because I have that right. That was my right in my job. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes it's like, you wish you had the law and order kind of gavel and you get defensive. Like you get defensive. And then all of a sudden, like you no longer have a conversation of listening and responding and asking with clarity and empathy,
Right.
whatever it is. Now I'm just straight up defensive, and now I'm going to make you wrong. And the question, see, my hands are already like, I'm ready. I'm going to take you down.
That's so funny. But you make a great point, Ellen. As much as I'm like, what about attorneys? But you do make a great point in the question that you're asking and the way you're asking it leaves little room. So now the person has to get on the defensive because they feel like they're being attacked. So,
Yeah. And she's saying that we're talking, but we are talking about asking questions personally for it to be effective. Yes. And again, listen, this show is not a cut and dry, black and white. Here it is. Life is not that way.
not if you just joined and you see black and white on the screen. Sorry, I could not let that one go. My
I was
bad.
so thinking, I was like, do you hear what's coming out of your mouth? Like it was too late. It was like, do, do, do. And I was just like, but first of all, I'm not
Yeah.
right. I'm a little bit of. We are crazy tonight. We have not seen each other in 2 weeks, and this is what happens. But this is what's fun about the show. But yeah, there's a lot. So to go back and talk about things, asking, communication, listening, life is many, 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 many layers.
Mhm.
And it just reminds me from the beginning, which is it's not just one, it's layer after layer. And Raquel brings this up often, no matter what topic we're talking about, is going back to why and purpose. So if we're talking about question, like why? What is your why to this question? What do you really want as the outcome of it? If you're not clear with all of that, then everything's just going to kind of get muddled. So be very, very, specific first to yourself. And I think that's what you were saying. Like know for yourself the question, the purpose of it, the intention of it, whatever word you want to use, the outcome of it. And I'm not saying stay attached to the outcome and like be like, it must be this way, because then that could be a disaster too. If somebody says no, then that whole feeling around it. But like, you know what the outcome is. And if it's yes, great. And if it's no, great. And then you just move on to the next situation. But if you're so attached to like, but Raquel must be on the show. She must be on the show. She must be on the show. And then I ask, and she's like, sorry, Reg, can't make it. And you're all like upset about it. But if you can just be like, oh, she's someone I'm interested in, I'm going to ask her. Great. She can't make it. That's the time I needed. It didn't work. Next. And then you can always be like another time if it works out. So there's many, many layers. Like I like to say, it's like a big 7-dip. I know I'm hungry. 7-dip layer.
Are you going to say a 7-bean dip?
I was going to say that. You see, I'm hungry. See, people, if you're watching the show tonight, it's hysterical. This is real talk. This is me and Raquel behind the scenes. It's just happening in front of you all.
Yeah. But I do want to ask our audience a question before we kind of wrap up here and close out the art of asking. How have your questions gotten any better? Now, see how I asked that question? That was biased.
Yes or no?
Right? It was a very biased question, indicating your questions were not good before. How are you asking questions now? Have you gotten anything out of this conversation for this month? Somebody just jump in and chime in. And if it's no, it's okay. Absolutely. We want to hear. But I know I have been forced, kicking and screaming, to ask better questions because of there's a project that I'm working on, and it really does require me to be extremely specific, because there really and truly is no room for any biased questions. There is no room for closed-ended questions, because what I need answers. And the questions I'll be asking are not necessarily easy ones for the person that I'm speaking with. So I'm learning.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we right now don't have anybody responding to the question you did ask them, but I am going to put a couple of things in here as well. Some things to think of right now, or as we're closing out just the short. I mean, because we're going to move deeper into this next month in a different, just flowing into it. But are there the questions that you haven't asked? Because where are you still holding back? Where are you still holding back to live this big, full life? Right? Inside of this topic about the ask and the asking questions. And if so, that's part one, is what beliefs are shaping what we feel we can or cannot ask for. Because that's, the part of what Raquel and I are talking about. And that's what we can move into in our next month, which I can put up the promo at the end.
What's next month?
What's next month, Raquel? Did you ask a question?
I did.
Next month, we've got this beautiful Beyond the Ask, Own Your Decisions. Now, that is like really owning all of beyond what you asked for or didn't ask for. That, I think, really takes into that living that fuller life. And we can really just have those questions are, where are you still holding back? And what beliefs are shaping you the way you feel you can or cannot ask for something? And that, if anybody has an answer to that, before Raquel gives her brilliance, let's see what we've got here. I'm kind of stuck tonight. There's something going on there. Yep. So Susan, honest, straight up, right? Susan is saying, I missed this month, so I haven't been practicing, but I will be more aware moving forward.
I
And
love we love the honesty. Thank you, Susan, for your transparency.
And the beauty part about anything about the show is everything is saved on our YouTube channel and everything is saved. So Facebook, just transparency, Facebook takes things down within a month.
Hmm.
So we do have a Rise and Thrive Together. We have Raquel's Facebook page, my Facebook page, LinkedIn, all of that. But to find everything, 3 years worth of episodes is on our YouTube channel. So Susan, you might have missed out, but you can always listen in while whatever you're doing around the house, and we really appreciate it. And Ellen writes in, yeah, so right, Regina, you must be clear with your intentions and not be disappointed if we don't get what we want. Um, yeah, and I'm
Or
really
be
looking.
disappointed, but what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's just normal. You can have them, feel disappointment. I'm not asking you to not feel or whatever. It's for me, it's the art of everything that we've been talking about for a really long time, and especially for 3 years, and even like before this show, is having that impact and having those feelings and emotions are absolutely normal and everything. Where we're at, or I'll speak where I'm at this time, especially in the art of asking and communication, is if things don't come out the way I want and the disappointment, to allow that to really impact me in a way that's not going to have my true intention and goal happen. It is so much bigger, my overall purpose, than somebody saying no. Somebody saying no. And as simple as, I'll just use, you know, can't pay the mortgage, right? Can't pay the mortgage. Could be devastating for most people, right? For most people, we're a paycheck away, we're a day away from that. And I'm not going to have the energy of saying, I asked Raquel and Raquel said no, and she's like, no, I'd love to help you, but, just can't do it. To like have all those feelings, emotions, and disappointment about it, where I'm not going to just move forward to intention, because my intention is to fulfill on that mortgage to be paid based on whatever my circumstances had me not pay it, if that makes sense. And people do get stuck in that emotion of that person said no, and oh my goodness, and da, da, da. I don't really have that much in life anymore. It's nice. It's very freeing. I'm living bigger and fuller.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
I
love
love
it. This
that.
was fun.
I
Thanks for
love it. I
like
love
dealing
it.
with Raquel and I. This is Raquel and I all the time. Straight up all the time.
We absolutely love it. This was a great conversation for the month of April. Super stoked to get into May. May is also Mental Health
Mm,
Awareness Month. So that's
mm.
why our flyer is green, because apparently that's the color.
I'm learning so much every time you do flyers and everything. May
I
not be
know.
like, yeah, I just love the colors, all of this stuff.
I don't know. But we're always super excited to be here with you and share with you what's going on and what we're up to. And thank you for sharing and inviting us into your life. We truly do appreciate it. And until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep choosing you. Take care.